Welcome to Tidbit Talkin. This series is just spewing out assorted thoughts about boatloads of entertainment media. Some ideas are serious, others not so much. There will be spoilers for the series currently featured, but generally only vague references to any other connected ones in a shared universe. Now, with all that out of the way, here we go. Pilot. Barry's extra effort in the Department of Incognito Identity Investment may involve a bit more than just his promise to Tina. The power-granting lightning seems to have waited until beefy CSI guy was completely alone for striking time, so he might at least subconsciously believe some sort of higher being doesn't want anybody else knowing who it is that's regularly rad red racing throughout town, stopping mad almost clowns or whatever. There's a few things about Pike that could indicate he's really a version of the Flash's typical main nemesis, Professor Zoom. 1. He's rather well versed when it comes to historical hoopla, something a dude from the highly advanced future should be capable of achieving rather easily. 2. Guy's quite obsessed with the Flash, even right as things are starting up, like he's had much more than a day to form an unhealthy attachment. 3. While Sir Sinister Cycler was in a crash that he and others remember quite well, his scarring looks rather odd for such a situation, particularly in ways that indicate intentional precision and whatnot. Perhaps much like comics Vaughn, this fellow made an attempt at surgically altering his own face to match Barry Allen's, but failed quite a lot. He'd then hang out in the past for a bit, biding time until opportunities for doing things better arose. However, his police hanging around cover life would eventually result in a vehicular accident, which made him forget past future details, while still keeping the same level of psychopathic violence and ludicrous individual fixation potential, the likes of which focused on Jay Allen up until the point a certain red-clad nemesis finally showed his mostly covered face. Newer Officer Allen's first super speed usage being activated by coffee drinking must be the result of his currently impossibly mutating body not really getting along with other deals attempting physiological alteration crap. That rope tie door pull deal Earl utilizes to get away from his scary new abilities having pal may have been installed by the latter, just in case he accidentally wandered in and got trapped, while simple standard shirt selecting was going on. The Pike gang partaking in chemical thefts might have something to do with hypothetical buried true Eobard him making an attempt at refueling his powers. Out of control. Barry would be aware of Garfield not attending any church stuff since being baptized, because finding out about his brother's killer's status as a former cop made him look into every other department-involved individual in order to discover potential bribed-off jerks. Mr. Not At All Like Someone Named Hulk attacks a mailbox because he harbors many issues about rejections of grants and other research-associated whatnot. Totally intellectual property-respecting, abnormally buff scientists managing to land an attack on the Flash has a bit more to it than just that latter dude being all distraction pumped. Specifically, said freaky fellow's research into injection-based people changing involved him gaining the ability to decipher how a certain super swift scarlet sporting sir might be caught off guard. Watching the detectives. Barry almost instantaneously developing a crush on Megan Lockhart could very well be caused by the dual circumstantial action of his sped-up mentally emotional state, figuring out who he'd like to hook up with incredibly quickly, and also wishing for a spectacular flee from blind dating after Julio brought in that crazy, basically an Iris parody for him. Said super spotting cheese sleuth's clumsiness facade is most likely a necessary part of every act she puts on in order to justify anything that gets misplaced, while info uncovering rummage action is going on. Honor among thieves. Swiftly super single Barry's fixation on his current sleep deprivation crisis is what inspired him to stop these car-driving brigands by blanket blocking their windshield over literally any other option. He might have even been window shopping for new bedding of his own while putting the plan into action. Reading a mountain of files early on in the episode is what let this jolly jogging Justice Leaguer develop a workable plan for stopping that double fake distraction heist crap just ever so quickly. Double vision. Diabolical remote control villain guy would want these people all invested in older, more traditionally supernatural whatever over finding out about Flash's existence, because it'd be easier to get more not-so-good deeds completed after this current daughter ransom junk was finished up. Cyber String Scarlet feature can't quite reach the velocity necessary for complete camera cramping craziness, both because there's a delay with that doodad's message sending, and also since his controller doesn't possess brain power that operates with hugely accelerated processes. Sins of the Father. No other prisoners attempt to escape after Hicks does so because they know the guy's probably going to kill them eventually, just like that cop. The only question is if it'd be for track covering purposes or purely sour mood related stuff. Dishes safely clanking around at super speed don't alert Barry's parents because that storm covers all the noise concerned shenanigans such actions entail. On a related note, youngest grown-up Alan spent the remaining time required for achieving kitchen clean connected minimum moments, patrolling his family's neighborhood for innocent folks caught out in the storm, and also any bad apples who might take advantage of situations where electricity stops working. A glass breaking prompts this very good boy to run over with flash gloves in tow, because he's well aware that such noises are something that his super-heroic companion often responds to. What with break-ins of both the vehicular and home variety occurring all over and everything. Child's play. Captain Drugs Mean Peace and Love would be all eager for a young person slaughter in this case because he figures anyone clever enough to swipe such sensitive stuff and at least attempt ransom negotiations might actually wind up a competent rival somewhere down the line. Panic-induced adrenaline action that occurred right before Barry passed out allowed him to memorize everything about that clearly not an accident causing other vehicle, particularly license plate junk, make model malarkey, and general trajectory nonsense. Hence him very easily giving chase after waking up from his hopefully not physical trauma involving nap. Also, he was probably kinda coming to already when Terry Not Bogard started calling out to him. Pharmaceutical freakiness forms Flash's first phasing because the shock of unexpected jabbing combined with drug shaking generated just the right vibration level needed for such an achievement. Anyway, that brief, not basic trip allowed Barry to deduce that one effect of this junk is supreme sound sensitivity. So, he decided to beat their asses with rocking powers instead of punching one. Shroud of Death. Callahan thinking that the Flash would want guns might have something to do with him believing said fairness-focused fighter's fastness involves advanced tech and not unique biological what have you. He'd especially be into this idea not only because such scenarios don't involve his beloved weaponry being obsolete, but also if things went well, a greatness-providing armor-related trade deal might come about after ample customer satisfaction occurred. Barry's inability to save the maybe not-so-legitimate business owner in time is simply because an arms dealer located in some place called Helltown means loads of smaller crimes that couldn't be ignored happened during his sudden trip. Ghost in the Machine. This cryogenic chamber situation, Mr. Just in love with a machine that doesn't work for nobody but him, decides to chill out in, could very well be a prototype of what eventually becomes a certain coldness-concerned captain's freezing weapon. Anyway, Nightshade's EMP gadget might have been what caused that glitching which resulted in Wake Alarm suddenly getting set for 1990. Atypical for this video series pointless fun fact, pinball was invented around the time those first Flash comics starring Jay Garrick were just starting. Barry's hesitance to get all Telethon involved is because dude doesn't want to risk anybody recognizing his voice as the Flashes. This particular Scarlet Speedster iteration is especially concerned about such audio-associated exposure because his firm cop voice and impact-leaving superhero one are quite similar, and the latter is never accompanied by masking vibrations or anything. Ghost's other obsession, that being remaining one step ahead of all who oppose him, resulted in studying certain concerned accomplished runner citizens enough to easily deduce which mood placement strategy would yield hero located exactly where traps will activate results. Somewhat related, Star Labs was emptied out because of that dude's citywide threat making. He'd know how to perfectly sneak past the cops because his wording was structured in such a way that their forces would be spread out in a very him-approved manner. Sight unseen. The purely executive position, not at all science experimentation, practicing job filling Ruth would figure out how Noise can track Invisible Gideon before everybody else because she's the only one not concerned with how he does his stuff. All the other people involved are merely too distracted with simple knowledge growth associated curiosity or practical mimicry implementation focused whatever to develop this simple sound strategy. Beat the clock. That unnecessarily enthusiastic enforcer who sports the nickname Whisper, specifically his whole situation with colleagues' selected monikers always getting used over official legal ones, is what inspires Barry's bringing of sticky situation solutions filled with lambasting loudness lumps. Endings are a pain, but all of you are fantastic. See ya.